On his deathbed, they asked Henry David Thoreau if he had made his peace with God. He said, "I did not know we had ever quarreled." He was 44 years old. Tuberculosis took him. He had spent his final years walking the woods, still observing, still writing, still refusing to conform. Even at the end, he did not apologize. Not for his life. Not for his choices. Not for refusing to be the person they wanted him to be. They wanted him to make peace. He said there was no war. "I have apologized for things I should have stood by. I have said yes when I meant no. I have made peace with people who were not at war with me. I have been afraid that if I did not apologize, they would think I was difficult, that they would leave, that I would be alone." Thoreau was alone. He died in his sister's house, surrounded by family, but the decision was his alone. He did not make peace with a God he had never fought. He did not apologize for the life he had lived. He did not ask for forgiveness. He simply refused. That is power. Not winning. Refusing. I have been trying to make peace with things that should have been refused. The job that drained me. The relationship that diminished me. The yes that should have been a no. I told myself that keeping the peace was more important than keeping myself. Thoreau did not keep the peace. He kept himself. The deathbed scene is quiet. No drama. No thunder. No angelic choir. Just a man lying in a bed, being asked a question he had already answered 50 years before. Had he made his peace with God? The question assumed there was something to forgive. Thoreau did not believe there was. He had lived his life. He had walked into the woods. He had gone to jail. He had refused to pay for what he hated. He had written the books. He had watched the ice break on the pond. He had sat in his doorway from sunrise until noon and called it work. There was nothing to apologize for. I have been apologizing for existing, for taking up space, for having needs, for saying no, for saying yes to the wrong thing, for not being what they wanted me to be. The apology is the background music of my life. Thoreau never apologized, not because he was arrogant, because he was honest. He knew what he had done and what he had not done. He knew the choices he had made and why he had made them. There was no gap between his life and his conscience. No apology could close a gap that did not exist. I have been trying to close a gap that was never there. I have been apologizing for things that were not wrong. I have been making peace with people who were not my enemies. I have been saying sorry for being myself. Thoreau said no, not loudly, not dramatically. He simply did not say the words they wanted to hear. He lay in the bed and told the truth. "I did not know we had ever quarreled." That is quiet certainty. Not the certainty that you are right. The certainty that you have nothing to apologize for. The outcome was already settled. Not in the courtroom. In the life. He had lived the life he wanted to live. He had refused what dishonored him. He had said yes to what mattered. There was nothing left to negotiate. I have been negotiating with myself for years. Bargaining. What if I just apologize one more time? What if I just keep the peace a little longer? What if I just wait until they understand? Thoreau did not negotiate. He refused. Once. Then he lived the refusal. The refusal was not a moment. It was a life. He refused the poll tax. He refused the war. He refused the assumption that a man must earn his rest. He refused the idea that needing less was failure. He refused to say sorry for the life he had deliberately chosen. He refused to apologize for any of it. The deathbed was just the last refusal. The one where they asked him to make peace with a God he had never fought. He said no, not because he was angry, because he was still himself. The same self that had walked into the woods 40 years earlier. The same self that had sat in the jail cell. The same self that had sat in his doorway and called stillness work. He did not change at the end. He stayed. I have been afraid that if I do not apologize, I will be seen as difficult, as stubborn, as unreasonable. Thoreau was all of those things. He was also free. The freedom was not in the refusal. The freedom was in the life that made the refusal inevitable. He had already decided years before what he would not do. The deathbed was just the echo of a decision made long ago. I have been making the decision at the moment of refusal. That is why it is hard. I wait until someone asks me to do something I do not want to do, and then I try to decide. Thoreau decided years in advance. He knew what he would not do. When they asked, he did not have to think. He just said no. That is the secret. Decide now. Before they ask. Before the pressure. Before the apology feels like the only way out. Decide what you will not do. Decide what you will not pay for. Decide what you will not apologize for. Make it so clear that when they ask, the answer is already there. Thoreau's answer was already there. I did not know we had ever quarreled. He had never quarreled with God because he had never believed God was keeping score. He had never quarreled with his conscience because he had never done anything his conscience could not live with. That is the life. A life with no gap between what you do and what you believe. A life where refusal is not a battle. It is just the natural consequence of having decided years ago what you will not become. I have apologized for things I should have stood by. I have said yes when I meant no. I know what that costs. I have felt the weight of every small surrender, every peace made with something that never deserved my apology. The gap is exhausting. Every yes that should have been a no is a step away from myself. Thoreau closed the gap, not by fighting, by refusing to open it in the first place. When they asked him to make peace at the end, there was nothing to make peace about. The war had never started because he had never joined the side that was fighting. Thoreau refused. He was not safe. He was free. The freedom is available now, not at the end of a life. Now. The decision does not need to be dramatic. It does not need to be announced. It only needs to be made, then held, then lived. I am not someone who apologizes for existing. I am not someone who makes peace with what dishonors me. I am someone who has already decided years before they ask what I will not become. That decision is made. It does not need to be remade every time. One refusal today. Not everything. One thing. One yes that becomes a no. One apology I do not say. One peace I do not make because there was never a war. Thoreau practiced for 44 years. By the time they asked him to make peace with God, the answer was already carved into him. He did not have to think. He just spoke the truth. I did not know we had ever quarreled. I refuse what dishonors me. I refuse what dishonors me. I refuse what dishonors me.